Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. He took $25,000 from me. It ended up costing him $500,000. After that, let me speak to the manager, young man. I will have you fired. The owner and I are good friends. After that, I do work here, and the show is over. I'm going home. And after that, stormed out after quitting a job I never had. Now, Karen assured me if we get 1,000 likes on this video, she won't try to take $25,000 from anyone else for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And huge shout out to our newest official member of the Re-Army, Narrated. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Join as an official channel member today and I'll give you a special shout out. He took $25,000 from me. It ended up costing him $500,000. I was married to a very OCD and pragmatic man. For example, for him, a big romantic gesture had been to leave me alone for 24 hours at the hospital right after I had our son, so he could go pay bills and mow the lawn. 20 years later, I do understand he really did express love this way, but that's another story. So I divorced him. Not just for what's above, mind you. I felt alone and unloved in this relationship. I just wrote about it to explain the state of mind I was in when I met this other person that we'll call PS. PS was the total opposite. He was very in tune with his emotions. He was very, very intense. This will be important later. He expressed his love like I thought I needed. On our first date, the waitress asked how long we had been together since he was so into me. He made me feel amazing. He had a huge house and a rather flashy lifestyle, so I assumed he was really well off. He told me he owned a car wash and a phone marketing company. Fast forward a bit. At this point, we had been dating for about a year, and he just asked me and my son to move in with him. I wasn't 100% sure, but he prepared the room for my son nonetheless. As I started spending more time in his house, still keeping mine, I also started to see strange behavior. He'd be up all night, but sleep all day. I also overheard a few phone calls where he was telling people they owed money and needed to pay, but the conversations didn't fit with a car wash or phone marketing business. At some point, he told me he was having money problems. He said huge clients were late in paying and that this was jeopardizing his house payments. So I, stupid me, offered to help. I'm missing a part of this story because it started as me offering help with the house since we were there a lot. Still had my house though. But it ended up with me lending him $25,000. I cannot for the life of me remember that progression. The loan was supposed to be for 3 weeks, he said. I'd have it all back in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That $25,000 came from my retirement savings / son's college money, so I had to pay a fine to access it. It's also money it took me 10 years to put aside. That money was very important to me. During those 3 weeks, I went out to have drinks with my friends and found him on a date with another woman. I saw him kissing her. I said nothing, went to his house, packed my stuff, and left. So anyway, I thought he'd be an adult and would still reimburse the $25,000 the end of the 3 weeks. A big mistake. Someone I knew told me he was glad I left and proceeded to tell me about him. He said PS was a junkie, hence why he was so intense and so into his emotions. That also explained the erratic sleep / night patterns, but the final blow was when he told me that PS was also a con man, a specialist in defrauding older people by phone, his so-called phone marketing company. In the beginning, I wasn't sure I believed it, but then bits of what I had overheard in the last year started to make sense, and I realized it was all true. Back to this later. I tried having my money back many different ways. None worked. I was at the end of my rope, and since it was in my years post-divorce, and right after the 2008-2009 economic crash as well, I was poor as heck. So this is what I did. First, he had given me access to pay bills online, not to his bank accounts, but to his emails. so I was able to investigate all his accounts with the same password. I printed and screenshot every little bit of information relating to money. I found proof that he was indeed scamming people and found the people he worked with and even the name of the person at Western Union who facilitated the money transfer. I found out he was an organized criminal. I also found out he did this between the two countries. I started preparing strike one. So for strike one, I printed his face and the face of everyone working for/with him from their online profiles in defrauding people and left hundreds of flyers in his neighborhood. I also called the hotline for financial crime prevention in both the countries and gave very specific details and names. Know that even if he had given me the money, this goes against my core values, and I would have done the same thing either way. At this point, I was preparing strike two too. I was dumb in lending him money, but at least I did it the right way. I wrote a check. I didn't do cash. I wanted proof just in case. It would turn out to be a great idea. On the check, I had written that it was a loan. Thank you, Judge Judy, for this tip. Since he didn't pay me back, I prepared an invoice and sent it to me from his hacked email. When the time came to do my taxes, I filed the $25K as an expense using this invoice. I have many freelancers. I slid him as one of them. And it passed. Don't ask me how I got his social. I can't remember. But I ended up having access to it, so ratted him out to the IRS for hiding income. I found out later on through friends that the IRS started investigating him for unpaid taxes. I heard he had to pay 38% taxes on that $25K, plus a 20% fine for not declaring income. At this point, I was satisfied. I figured $9,500 in taxes plus $5,000 in fines was 50% of what he owed me. At least he didn't get away with it all. But remember, I told you on the check I had written that it was a loan. So I took about 2 to 3 years, but I took him to court and won. He didn't even show up. So he has to reimburse the full $25,000 plus court fees, plus what he owes to the IRS. So it's $39,500 that he was to pay for not reimbursing $25,000. To this day, I still haven't seen a cent, but the rest of the story makes it worthwhile. For a while, I thought the financial crime call I made had no effect. Now, the cherry on top. What I didn't know at the time is that the IRS would team up with Wire Fraud Division and look at everything he did. They were not able to catch him on the wire fraud, but since the house he had did not fit with the money he was declaring, they got him on tax evasion and gave him a certain delay to pay back taxes. I heard it was only 3 months, but I don't know if it's accurate. They got him so good, they ended up freezing his accounts and he lost the house. The bank foreclosed it, and his debt to the IRS is still open. We are not in the US, so he won't go to jail for this, however. But my $25,000 that he did not want to repay ended up costing him over $500,000. And since you cannot go bankrupt for a debt you owe to the government, I'm happy to tell you that at 40 years old, he had to move back with his parents and ask for welfare and will probably be paying this for the rest of his life. This story is not finished, however. I just learned that he now has a job as a concierge in the apartment building of his parents, so I'll be contacting the court to have the money he owes me taken directly from his pay. The thing is, he has no idea I'm the culprit of all his bad fortune, and he recently sent me a message telling me he misses me, that I was an angel for him, and that he regrets what he did. Well, not me, loser. Not me. Next we've got, "Let me speak to your manager, young man. I will have you fired. The owner and I are good friends." First, let me explain a few things here. This is not my story as such, but I got to witness it firsthand. A good friend of mine is from a family that owns 3 very successful Italian restaurants, with a pizza oven that uses actual wood, really top of the line. So he learned the business basically from the day he could walk. When he was 25, he had a good business idea. A place in the middle of the city that sells mostly slices out a window, but also whole pizza, pasta dishes, and salad, and does delivery, plus a few small tables inside if someone wants to eat there. So he created a solid business plan and had his eyes on a prime location. It's 50 meters away from the biggest parking area in the city, with 400 parking spots, where several times a year we have big city fairs, and anybody who wants to go in the park strolls right by it. So his dad said he would finance him, but as a credit to be paid back in a timely manner. They agreed on everything, and a year later he opened up. The story takes place about 2 years after they have opened, and the place is hot. He already repaid almost 75% of the credit in a mere 2 years. Usually there is a line for the slices, which are from a family-sized pizza, like 60 centimeters across, and you get 1/8 for $2.50 to $3.50, depending on what is on it. We are sitting on a table playing chess while his guys run the shop. He had already worked a full 11 hours that day. In comes a baby boomer couple, and it was clear as day that the lady with the you-know-which haircut rules this relationship with an iron fist. They sat down on the table next to us, and after not even a minute, she rudely asked us why she has no menu yet and to get off our lazy butts. I already wanted to tell her I do not work here, but he winked at me and walked over to their table, giving them our menus. I'll call her entitled lady and my friend just friend. Disclaimer: this was nearly 15 years ago, so the spoken words are not word for word, but represent what was said. Entitled lady: "It's about time you get off your lazy butt." She has waited a minute. "You can't play chess when you have people waiting. What kind of crappy service is this?" So he took their drink orders and walked behind the bar to make their drinks right away. They had to wait maybe 3 minutes for their drinks. They ordered beer that takes a bit to do correctly. Hefeweizen for you Germans. This story takes place in Germany. "About time. Did you have to brew it first? Or what's it taking so long?" My friend's patience is starting to wear thin, but he still stays friendly. "You saw me walk to the bar and make your drinks right away, then return right away. Those beers take a bit to pour correctly. I'm sorry, but there is no way I could have brought those to you any faster." "We are customers, and this is how you talk to us? Ever heard of the customer is always right? How can you be so rude to paying customers?" Now my friend really had enough. "I was very respectful towards you, while you were very rude from the moment you came in here." The moment he said that, she got this weird grin on her face, and you could tell this was exactly what she wanted. "Shut up! How dare you! I will have you know, me and the owner are old friends. I will have your job over this. Now get me your manager." Friend: "Please, I need this job." "Too late. You should have thought about this before you treated guests this rude. Now, get me the manager." Friend went behind the bar and had a short talk to one of the older guys working there. Let's call him OG. Both returned to the table. OG: "What seems to be the problem, ma'am?" Entitled lady, suddenly playing the sweet old lady that is so nice. "When we came in here, your server sat there with someone and played chess. We waited and waited, and finally asked nicely if we could have a menu. He rolled his eyes at us and gave us the menu from his table. Then we ordered drinks, and he walked over, made our drinks, and then just stood there for a good 10 minutes before he brought our drinks. And when I politely asked him to bring our beer, he was really rude to me. Since I know the owner, we eat here all the time, and usually the service is excellent. I demand you fire him and comp our meals." OG turning to my friend: "Is that really what happened?" Friend: "Of course not. She came." Entitled lady, suddenly, all the mask of friendliness gone, starts screeching. "What are you asking him for? I just told you what happened. Are you calling me a liar? Wait till the owner hears of this." At this point, my friend and OG could no longer hold it back, and they started laughing. "You think this is funny? Never have I been so insulted." Friend: "Yeah, I know. Wait till the owner hears of this." "Oh wait, the owner already did hear of this. I am the owner, and I have never seen you in my life, nor have you ever eaten here. You two are just trying to scam a free meal out of me by being impossibly difficult till the server finally snaps or does something wrong, so you can ask for a manager and lie to him about what happened. Now you pay for your beer and then you go, and do not even think of coming back. You are banned." Wow, I had no idea people could get that red in the face. She put 10 euros on the table. "Now get out." and they shuffled out to never return. Boy, that was the most entertaining attempt to scam him I have ever witnessed. Next we've got, I do work here, and the show is over. I'm going home. Turned out longer than expected. Happened last night, and I'm still chuckling about it. I'm a sound tech at a pretty busy venue in a southern college town. We have tons of weekly events, bands, karaoke, trivia, fundraisers, etc., and a bar that's open from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. most days. I work with about 3 other sound techs, but I'm the primary tech because I have the most experience, was dumb enough to get a college degree in audio engineering, thinking it would profit me something other than the gratification of polishing audio turds from entitled musicians and patrons. But I do love my job and most of the people I work with. Being close to a fairly well-known college, if I told you which one, you'd get why this happened. We get a lot of kids playing with mommy and daddy's money who come in, act super entitled, and usually get promptly put in their place. This will be a description of one such occasion. Anyway, we had just had these 2 bands play, and I was none too happy with them since they arrived an hour late and gave me the completely wrong input list, prompting me to do a ton of extra work routing almost 3 additional and weird instruments into the mixing desk. They had finally finished around midnight, and I was making an attempt at coiling cables around a mountain of band gear. I was almost done when a gaggle of college-aged girls led by a taller blonde, whom I will refer to as Kit, Karen in training, stumble in, being very loud. I hear them start making demands of the bartender, who also just wants to go home, and he's sorting out their drink order, explaining he can only serve them 1 drink each and they need IDs for everyone, blah blah blah. I continue my work, putting microphones away, and now am packing up the mic stands, some of which are mine, when Kit walks right up on the stage and approaches me directly. Kit:
Hey, so when's the band gonna start? What do you guys play?
Actually, you guys just missed them. I'm just the sound tech, and I'm packing up for the night.
What? But why? It's only 12, and we just got here.
Well, they have already packed up. I'm just waiting for them to move some stuff off stage, and I'll be out of here as well. We have another show tomorrow. Come back, and She interrupts me, grabbing my arm.
Well, can you do me a huge favor and set up karaoke for me and my friends? I saw in the events that you guys do karaoke.
No, sorry. I can't do that. Karaoke is on Thursday if you want to come back then.
I can't believe you're telling me no. We are patrons and brought 10 people.
Fun fact, their group had 6.
To your bar, and you're saying you can't accommodate us?
Well, sorry, I'm a contractor actually, and I haven't been approved to do any additional work. I'm pretty expensive hourly, and I'm pretty sure my boss isn't gonna want to pay me to stick around and set the sound system back up just for you and your friends. Seriously, just come back Thursday. It's a lot of fun.
This is ridiculous. Where's your boss? I'll talk to him.
He's not here tonight. Feel free to email him though. I give her a business card, hoping it would end the interaction.
If he's not here, can't you just do it? How would he know?
Cameras. Dude, it's not worth my job. I told you, I'm not doing it. I apologize for the inconvenience, but even if I wanted to, I would get in big trouble without approval. I have to finish working and get off the clock now. Bye. At this point, I turn away to finally finish packing away the mics and stands, and she just kind of stands there dumbfounded. I ignore her and go about my business. I walk back behind the sound booth to cover up the board for the night when I notice Kit and one of her friends picking up one of the band guitars and the other mock playing the keyboard, literally banging on it. At this point, I'm mad. Being a musician, nothing makes me angrier than entitled and inexperienced strangers touching my gear, and I'm sure the band I mixed for would feel the same way if they weren't out back. I march back to the stage. Okay, you and your friends need to pay your tab and get the heck out. Now.
Why? This isn't even yours. Why do you care?
I'm going to ask you one more time. Pay your tab and get out, or I'm going to call the police. At this point, her friend is looking pretty embarrassed and saying something about how they should just leave.
Whatever, you're a jerk. We are never coming back here ever again.
Fine by me. Pay, then leave. Now. I grab the guitar away from her, and she and her friends pay their tab and leave. Kind of a non-dramatic ending, but I did hear them complaining about me loudly to the bartender. After they left, he slipped me a free shot for making them leave so he didn't have to. I clocked out, drank it, and laughed, knowing I'd have a pretty good story for this sub. Next we've got stormed out after quitting a job I never had. This happened to me yesterday, and I can't not share it because it's absolutely hilarious to me. I was recently hired in a smallish motorcycle garage/workshop just under 3 weeks ago as a mechanic, yet what I tend to do most of the time is errands for the other people that work there, as I'm new and I'm not going to complain. Normally it's organizing bolts, tidying tools up, sweeping, or grabbing food on the lunch break for everyone. They chip in cash-wise for it, obviously. Just before lunch, myself and one of my colleagues managed to bend a breaker bar, a large bar designed to increase torque on a nut or bolt to make stiff bolts easier to loosen, and therefore need to replace it. I take the company card, as it's a company expense, take everyone's money, and head into the town to do some light shopping. Thankfully, we're situated about a 5-minute walk from a Halford's, British store for bicycles, car parts, tools, etc., and there's a small coffee shop opposite. The work uniform we have is essentially just black overalls, and I personally put a hoodie over the top half as it can get quite cold around this time of year. This makes me look very similar to the uniform that is worn in the Halford shop. I turn up and head to the tools section and find a breaker bar easily enough. They're quite large, so it's hard to miss them. While I'm there, I have a general browse at a few other things in the shop, and an employee asks if I need a hand. I'm juiced up on coffee, and am reading the back of an alarmed padlock box when they speak, and it makes me jump, smacking my head on the shelf above and knocking some things off the shelf. Nothing heavy or delicate, thankfully, just a few pairs of heated gloves and some tubs of glue. Apologizing and able to laugh about it, I assist the worker in placing everything back onto the shelf when a buzzer goes off, and he says he has to head to the office and thanked me for helping restack the shelf. Just as I finish restacking the shelf and picking up the item I was looking at, a man walks in with a toolbox that the place sells and comes up to me, kicking and screaming that he lost a part of it or something. I honestly wasn't paying attention to what he was saying. I attempted to explain that I don't work here. He simply pointed at my legs, presuming they are trousers, not overalls, and calls me a liar, and says that if I don't replace what he lost, he would fire me on the spot. The worker, who had headed to the office, arrived back at the end of the aisle about this time and asked if there was anything he could help with, and I, having spotted his name tag before, told him by name that I've got this. Turning back to the clearly irritated gentleman, I tell him that he can't fire me because I quit. I placed the items I was holding on top of the toolbox straddled across his arms and stormed off, being careful not to turn and show the massive grin on my face. Out the doors I went and off to the coffee shop before returning to work, having completely forgotten to return and buy the breaker bar. Told them the story, and another colleague walked over and bought it himself with a card. Really lightened the mood of a cold, dirty workshop for the day. And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day: McCarthy Gaming, Melon King, and Sergeant Mason. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many Rees as you can in the comments below.